for everyone to be here. Goodness. And this is exciting. This is exciting. Oh my God. Okay. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. I can see a few faces. Most people are with their webcams off, and that's fine because we're going to have an amazing, amazing conversation with my friend Amara. So while I'm going to take the lead for a few minutes so we can also welcome everyone who is arriving. So give me a few seconds, Amara. So I'm going to say a few words in Spanish so I can welcome everyone. Okay, brilliant. Hola a todos, bienvenidos. Bienvenidos a esta instancia donde les voy a estar presentando a mi gran amiga Amara Samata. Ya les voy a estar contando de ella y vamos a estar conociéndola en persona. Para mí, este encuentro en donde están invitados todos los alumnos actuales del Diplomado en Creación Consciente y Transformación Personal y también invitados todos los exalumnos que han pasado por la escuela estos últimos 4 años. Para ustedes, muchas veces me han escuchado hablar acerca de ciertos referentes, personas que yo admiro profundamente por su comprensión de la realidad, por cómo son como seres humanos. Y uno de estos referentes y una de estas personas a quien estimo enormemente es mi amiga Amara. Es un personaje que ya les vamos a contar, que es alguien que es la fundadora de Inner Guidance Institute, quien en una trayectoria profunda de desarrollo personal ha creado metodologías que han apoyado y ayudado a personas, a miles de personas a lo largo de todo el mundo. Para mí es un gusto que la tengamos hoy. Es nuestra primera vez en la cual nosotros vamos a estar en esta conversación donde están todos invitados. Y para todos, ¿cierto?, quienes hablan inglés, los invito a usar el chat. Amara solamente habla inglés, por lo tanto esta conversación la vamos a hacer en inglés y vamos a traducir luego la grabación para que todos ustedes puedan, los que no saben inglés, ¿cierto?, puedan tener acceso a todo esto en español. Aún así, si es que quieres estar presente, aún sin saber inglés, que puedas conocer la energía de Amara y puedes usar un traductor, o si estás con alguien que puede traducirte, bienvenido y bienvenida. Así que a todos en el chat los invito también a saludar a Amara, quien está acá. Genial que usen inglés, que usen español. Y voy a ir en el idioma inglés ahora. So, Amara, I'm gonna, there you go, perfect. So I was saying, I was welcoming everyone, and I was saying that my old students have heard from me that I always talk about a few people that I refer to, that I admire from as human beings and for their journey too. And you're one of those people. So for me to have you here with my students and that we can allow ourselves to talk as we have always done, in a way that it's friendly, in a way that it's explorative, in a way that we can see what's going to happen here. We know that we're going to talk here about consciousness, we're going to talk about empowerment, we're going to talk about conscious manifestation, but we don't have something on script, right? We're going to flow and see what happens today. We have a few questions and we're gonna have an interaction. So I invite everyone to use the chat. And of course, as I already told everyone, we're gonna translate this video then so everyone can have access to the conversation. So Amara, I was telling everyone who you were. You are the founder of the Inner Guidance Institute, and you have a journey, a fascinating journey on awakening and also developing tools that have, I would say, like when you make a little bit of a revolution, like, how do you say this? When you create something new and you create a system that works, you know, in a way that is new and it's more effective and it's supporting people and accelerating people to awaken and to understand deeper people's journey, people's desires, people's needs, people's beliefs, everything pointing towards awakening and to remembering who we are. So I think this is the best way I can describe Amara, but please, Amara, tell us a little bit of who you are and also, you know, how we met, and we can take it from there.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Javi. And yeah, I'm so happy for this moment. I'm excited to just share in this space with all of you. So, well, Javi and I met at a retreat, actually. What was it, 7 years ago or something like that? And yeah, Javi came up to me, I think it was in the buffet line, and she said something really profound, you know, and she just didn't waste any time. And she came straight up and said to me, you know, like, I want to ask you something. It was really deep, you know, like, have you seen, basically, like, have you been able to see, have you seen beyond, you know, like kind of normal perception? Have you, you know, have you seen beyond this? And I looked at her and said, yes. And then we began this, like, okay, stop. And we began this conversation. I think the retreat kind of went to the side, and we were like, never mind the retreat. We started this conversation that was, I knew in that moment was going to be, as I say, I found a lifelong soul friend. Yeah, and that's what I just love, you know, about you, Javi, and about your vivaciousness and curiosity for truth, and, you know, commitment to the truth. So yeah.
I want to say something about that, because in my journey, to everyone who's here present, wait me a second, because we have we shouldn't have, there you go. And let me ask you to renew the audio for you. Okay, everyone's good? Can you hear us well? Are you understanding? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant, brilliant. We have people here understanding, which is great too, right? Yeah. So then we will do the work to translate in Spanish, and it's going to be more fluent. So something I want to share with everyone is that, and I think I shared it in an interview in Spanish last week too. I've been sharing a little bit more this experience of when you actually see beyond reality. We're going to talk about reality, right? But when you see beyond this veil of illusion, that this is everything that is. And when I had that experience, I traveled the world to seek people that could give me some answers. And I remember the moment I met you, because we were on an NLP course, and we were sitting on this, you know, this beautiful place. I remember exactly where we were sitting. And I remember you asked a question that nobody could ask unless you know the answer, actually. It was the way you asked the question to the teacher, which was, what is beyond belief? You know, when she was teaching about belief and this triangle system on NLP. And I was actually asking myself the same question. It's like, okay, but that's not everything. And you just question the teacher in a way that I was like, she knows. She knows, and I know that she knows. And for me, that was, wow. Okay, so let's go there. Let's go deeper.
Yeah, we're gonna go into the super deep today. Everyone get ready. We're gonna go into the beyond the belief. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. And my work has been a lot about, you know, just uncovering, taking that natural curiosity that we all have as children, which brings us into our evolution. And I was, for whatever reason, just determined not to let that die within me, you know, this natural curiosity. And what is beyond belief? I had an epiphany when I was a very young girl. There was something I was, excuse me, I was having a little argument with my father. And I tell this story where he asked me to do something. And I said, what if I don't do it? I questioned my father. And then my father was a Southern Baptist preacher. It was a very strict religious man. And he said to me, you'll go to hell if I didn't do, you know, this thing he wanted me to do. So he was kind of using it for a way to, you know, parent me and get me to do what he wanted him to do. And in that moment, this question, and these questions that come up in our lives, you know, are really what unlocks the mind, right? Questions open the mind. And I thought, what if I don't believe him? what happens? Does it make it true or not true? Who decides? Do I just have to wait and find out? Like, how does that, what happens? And this big energy came into me as I was questioning what is beyond the mechanism of belief that we hold inside of us that creates a reality that we think of as real. You know, because I believe it, we think it must be real, right? Because I believe it. So to me, it is real. And so that made me a very, you know, you can imagine trying to parent me as a child, because I would question everything. But what if it's, you know, not even what if it's not true, but what if I don't believe in the same way he believes? What happens then to our lives when we have different belief systems? So yeah, so that led me to, just a big journey of uncovering truth and putting that at the forefront of a lot of what I did. And so after, for the last 7 years, I've been in Bali, Indonesia, and I've been working with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, over 2,000 people and private clients, taking them, you know, into their, basically into their beliefs and having them question them and either confirm them or change them, depending on what is right for them. And that created, and from there I created the inner guidance system, which is a way of inquiry, but it's full body inquiry. It's I call it your total self-intelligence. So you're activating your kinesthetic, your emotional, your psychological, and your energetic intelligence all at the same time while you're in a reflective process. And so this way, there's nowhere to hide. You kind of get hit from all angles. And you must see whatever version of truth. Truth is evolving, but you know, the relative truth is certainly evolving. So how to hold on to that truth and let it unfold. And I did have some teachers along the way who helped me.
Goodness. Okay, I have many questions to, you know, to take one line of what you're saying, because it's fascinating, and I want everyone to acknowledge that Amara is saying relative truth, and she corrected herself a little bit, and she said, well, the relative truth is evolving. What she's actually correcting for a reason, right? Because truth is a different thing than relative truth. But I want to ask you something. Many of our students, Amara, are here to understand reality in a deeper way. And they start with us in a process that takes them out of victimhood to be able to create reality consciously. And from there, start to question reality, or start to question deeper aspects of reality. So let's start from the beginning. I have two questions that come to mind, but one question would be, how important are beliefs into how is reality for us, and what is reality, and how can we define reality?
Okay, well, you know, so the simple, what do you call it? The simple definition that is coming to mind right now is your reality is based a lot upon your perception. I mean, with no perceiver, there is no experience of reality to be had. I mean, you could say, well, other people are having it, even if I'm gone. Other people are having, but they're still perceiving. You're still piggybacking on top of perception in order to prove reality. So let's just say from a human point of view, that reality is what we perceive it to be, what we experience it to be. That is your reality. And so I think it's very beneficial for us to be able to acknowledge the perception that we have. You know, so many times a lot of the problems that come up in our lives, in our relationship, is because we are not fully acknowledging or having our experience acknowledged, right, by ourselves or others. We're having it even starts in childhood, very young. You know, when you know that when you hurt yourself, what do parents tend to say? We all know it. Oh, it's okay. in a moment when you're not okay, in your experience, in your reality, things are not okay, just for that moment. And so this denial of that we're trained to deny our own reality adds another layer on top of being able to create our own reality, or work with our perception and invite our perception to unfold even more. So very simply said, you know, relative to what? In Buddhism, we call it relative reality and ultimate reality. So in relative reality, it is relative to your understanding. So what you're perceiving and how you're taking it in as then an understanding. That's reality. I mean, scientifically, we would explain it differently, but from a human experiential standpoint, we would call it the perception and understanding of what's happening around you. That's your reality.
I love that. And so we can take it from there and say, okay, we have this reality from what you're saying that is our perceived reality, and you're also talking about a reality that is kind of a beyond reality. Mm-hmm. So first of all, I want to ask you two things, like,
okay,
because one of the things that inspires me the most is that we can ask ourselves deeper questions and actually question reality, right? It's like when you go from being a victim to being a conscious creator, you're saying, wow, my reality expanded, right? From thinking life happened to me, now I can make things happen. And that also expands the game. But also the question would be for you, because I know you have such depth that it would be good to also talk about this, which is what's beyond this reality, if we want to go there, or an invitation to ask ourselves deeper questions.
Okay, well, you said it right there. We can ask ourselves. So that's one of the gifts of being human, is we can ask, and that's also one of the traps, because we can fool ourselves. So how do we know if we are expanding ourselves in a positive way, you know, or if we're just fooling ourselves? This is one of the biggest human dilemmas, you know, that this whole philosophy is coming down to the bottom of. And that has to do with how you interpret the feedback of your life. But so I love what you're talking about the victim, and how you switch yourself out of the life is happening, you know, to me, you're coming at me, rather than with me and through me. That's a big change. That's a massive change in a mindset, to take what I call, you know, responsibility, the ability to respond, responsibility for your life, able to respond, you know, and beyond. When we go beyond our current reality, we're going beyond our current mindset. The beyond is beyond the sense of self that you were sort of handed down in life, that you adopted. There was this sense of me, an identity that you know, was co-created with you and your environment. And if we don't check on it, if we don't work with it and grow with it, it can tend to get solidified, or, you know, or adopted without question. And then we carry it along, you know, into our lives, thinking that's me. And often it's a very immature set of strategies that end up in adulthood adopting a type of victim-like quality. So when you go beyond your belief, you're going beyond the belief a lot of yourself, what you thought you were, and therefore what you thought the rest of the world was. When you go beyond the beyond, you know, what we call paragate, parasamgate bodhisoha, this is beyond the beyond. So you go beyond even the unfolded, awakened version of self, and you even go beyond self. So we're not even talking about an identified, that you're not identified in those ways. And There's not a lot to talk about. That's just pure being.
Let's say that this world, I wouldn't say even world, reality, experience of existing, it's actually really big. And let's go down, okay? I'm saying down like this, like into the experience of self, right? I am an I, you are Amara, I'm a Javi and you're Amara. So the experience of self.
Yeah.
And I love that you talked about the identity, because this is something I tell my students. When we go into I am beliefs, right? The belief of I am whatever that follows that belief, that is our identity. And whenever, I don't know if you agree with this, Amara, and I want to talk about what do we do with that? Whenever something, either our own questions or someone else's opinion or something we read or something we heard threatens our belief, we will tend to defend that identity as if someone was attacking us. For example, what happens in our school is that most people that want to stay being a victim, because that's part of their identity and how they want to live their life, will run away from our school. Like, don't even talk to me about conscious manifestation, because I don't want my experience of being a victim being threatened by a different set of belief systems that will empower me, will make me, expand my awareness and see life in a different way, but also see myself in a different way. So what happens with that? What have you seen with all the people that you have worked with?
Okay. Yeah, great things to unpack there. So, all right. First of all, what we're labeling as victim, I would like to have people consider that the positive. So everything in life has a, again, we're talking from human perception, of course. So anything from life has a positive and you could say negative or cost and benefit to your experience. So that so-called victim nature was a survivalistic strategy. It was a set of strategies that you adopted that became the way that you assumed you were and other people were in order to survive. So it's not like victim bad. It's only when those strategies become no longer useful. There are many short-term strategies that you adopt when you're young, when you make an assumption, that out of fear. So there are many people who are so-called wanting to live in victim mentality, meaning they're wanting to maintain the same strategies that they developed for survival. And for some people, that's going to make sense to them. And for some, it may even look like they're a victim, but maybe that's a really good strategy for where they're at. We'll never know fully, the experience of others. But when they come to a point where these strategies have become too limiting, these beliefs become too small, too limiting. I call them like baby shoes. If you have your little baby shoes on and then you never take them off and your feet start to grow, you're going to end up in a very painful, awkward experience. Why are my feet hurting? And and then you're in denial, and then you wait too long, you have to get surgery. It's awful. There comes a point where you say, hey, something's speaking to me and saying, things need to change. Oh, I need to upgrade. I need to take these shoes off. Of course we upgrade them and take them off when things become too small. Well, our minds are growing too. Things become too small for our mind. We need to open them up. So when we're making that transition, you're absolutely right. You will become what we call triggered.
Brilliant. Right? Triggered. That's a good word.
And when you are threatened or triggered, and you're not being physically attacked, I mean, like nobody's coming in attacking you. This is like your fear is of losing your identity of world, your worldview, your self view, because you don't know who you are beyond that view. Well, you are a new version of you beyond that view. So what I teach my students is that when you are triggered, the thing to remember in that moment is, oh, I'm going to learn something here. Because being triggered means you are hitting up against that part of you that is ready to take off the baby shoes.
I'm loving
it. It's like, oh, this pain means, it literally means there's a part of me that on one side it's afraid to grow beyond what's being shown, to be what the opportunity is. And there's another part of me that wants to evolve some more. So this is where we say, lean into it. And, ooh, I'm really triggered now. So I teach people, whether, of course, in families and in couples, but in their work. And now, in the whole world situation, really lean in. Oh, this is triggering me a lot. Okay, what am I going to learn? Here I go. Let me open my heart and open my mind. And the next step is then really having the capacity to listen and to want to understand more than you want to defend. Say you're on one side and people are on the other side, and instead of just just sort of throwing them in a box of those people or that person, and we say this thing like, I can't believe they would say that. I can't believe they would do that. I can't believe they would think that. Of course you can't. You have your baby shoes on. Now, when you take them off, it doesn't mean you will adopt their belief, but it means you will build empathy to understand, why do they believe like that? How, we say it in our language all the time. How could they have done that? So in my work, I help people be brave enough to ask the question, help me understand how you could have said that or done that. Help me understand your thinking, your behavior, because once you understand where somebody's coming from, oh, there's so many more possibilities about how we can relate or why we need to stop relating. And, many choices can be made from that place. And that's taking ownership, again, of your life and really leaning in the moment. That's one of the greatest skills that you can have, is being able to, I'm really triggered. I'm going to learn something. Okay, help me understand. Let me look deep, a little bit closer at this and see what I can learn here.
I want to stop there for a second and let's look into this maybe a little bit deeper, maybe just have everyone look into this. I see that this is the first module of our 6-month intensive or 4th-month intensive, right? When we are learning conscious manifestation, because whenever we're gonna acknowledge a contracted belief and maybe want to go beyond that, we might encounter a resistance, a trigger. So I see that in spirituality, in money, in anything that I want to expand, if I don't know how to detect my triggers and to work through them, I will get stuck. So that's my stuckness, right? So my question for you would be, what can you suggest for us? Or how do you work with your clients when they get triggered? And what do you see? Because sometimes, Amara, triggers are hard. It's like, I get angry, I get pissed off, I don't want to hear that. Rah, this very fiery energy of like, it's like attacking and like putting this wall, a defensive mechanism. So how do we go beyond that? What do we do when we're so triggered?
Javi's a fiery teacher, yeah?
Amara's more water. I'm like, rah.
I love your fire. Super. Exactly. Okay. So from my perspective, it's all about your understanding. Having that inner understanding. So first of all is to know when I get triggered, like you said, I put up a wall and I'm creating a barrier from the thing that's going to help me evolve as in my perception, and then allow me to change. It's going to change me. It's going to change my world through the way I see things and the way I accept things and reject things. Everything's going to change the way I understand. So it's a matter of the how is how to know yourself. So what I like to work with is inner dialogue process. So if there's a part that's like holding on and getting really triggered, there's another conscious witness within you that can say, oh, you're getting really triggered right now. Okay, your wall builder is here. Hello, wall builder. Right? Your armor, you know, your warrior is out. So that doesn't make your warrior or your wall builder, doesn't make it right or wrong. That's to be discovered. What you now see is more appropriate, you know, and not. So you just have to get a hold of it and say, okay, like kind of what you say, right? You're welcome here. Yes. So here you are. Okay, this is my way. Yes. I give it, once we've gone through the process of inner guidance, then they learn to say, I give it the there. There. Yes, I know you want to build a wall right now. I know. You have your defenses out. Okay, so I will proceed cautiously, but I have a quick little, you know, you can have a little talk with yourself. What I need you to remember is there's something to learn here. And if you keep putting up walls and being defensive and fighting for what's right, you won't be free. Not in the same way. It's just that simple. You know, do you want to be right or do you want to be free? If you want to be right, go for it. Have a good time. But if you want to be free beyond your limitations, if you want to free yourself from your limitations, you have to put that side of you to, you know, to the side. You have to calm them down. And the more awareness you bring, the more this side of you will trust you and allow you to lean in to the situation. It's only there because it doesn't have other resources. Once you can hold your truth, let other people have their truth, and begin to work through the process of conversation or understanding, which comes a lot of our understanding comes through language. So that's why I work so much with language, you know, talking to ourselves and talking to others. How do we do that really well? It's not that part of you is bad. We need a protector. We need a protector in us. But when they're running the show all the time, hyper-vigilantly protecting against anything that goes against what we currently understand, well, how can you grow? So stay in your understanding then.
I have a question, Amara. Yeah. And I love where you're, the depth of where you're sharing. And everyone here, right, I invite you to use the chat, right, and to really, if you have any questions, you can write it down and we can go deeper into that. So we're talking about triggers. We're talking about triggers being a limitation for us to free ourselves to
and an opportunity.
And an opportunity. Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Because we can ask ourselves the question of why am I being triggered? I'm guessing.
Yeah, triggers are a trapportunity.
Trapportunity.
You understand? It depends on how you use them. They can trap you into just, you know, fighting for what is, and I'm not saying fighting for right is wrong. I'm not saying that. But there comes a point where fighting for what is right is not going to add up to you evolving, you know, beyond your world, beyond what you imagined. So yeah, it is a trap and an opportunity, depends how you use the trigger. So go ahead.
So the question would be, when you get triggered and then you're open, let's say you got triggered, then you witness that you're triggered and you say, okay, I'm going to lean in and I'm going to have curiosity and I'm going to see what's happening within me and why am I feeling so triggered. Then you also said it's not the same as making them right or saying that they are right. So because many times we can hear things that we don't like. For example, I can get triggered that I saw on the news that someone, you know, was aggressive to someone else, or dropped a bomb and killed many people, and I can get triggered by that. So sometimes we don't agree with something. My question would be, there are occasions where we get triggered because we don't agree with something, and sometimes we're protecting something. So what would be the difference there?
Okay, great question. Let's see if I can stay on track with this. So when you're triggered and that curiosity is open and you're leaning in, the thing that you're going to need in order to navigate that leaning in is really an ability to know yourself, and to have a healthy relationship with accepting and rejecting. This is the gas and the brakes. And you know, the curiosity is sort of the, you know, okay, here we go in the car. But you need to have a good gas and brakes. If you don't have a healthy relationship to accepting and rejecting and acknowledging and staying open, then it's going to be very hard to know the difference. So when you say you see something that triggers you, there's an emotionality that comes forward. Our emotions, as I see them, are a guidance system to alert us that something is important. So when you feel the raw emotion, I feel sad, I feel angry, you know, something comes up in your system that says that's not okay, right? It's a natural survivalistic emotion. The problem is we have stories wrapped all around our emotionality. We have an embedded story so embedded that we can't take, you know, separate the story from the emotion. So once you understand what is an emotion versus a feeling, or feeling versus an emotion, depending on how you use those words, then you can say, okay, I feel outraged, let's say. Okay, so now, great. Now I have an opportunity to ignite my passion and to feel into what is important to me. And I can start to, you know, so now I need to see and hear. I need to see and hear the other side. I need to understand their mindset. It's just, ultimately, we're all just afraid, and we have different ways of dealing with fear. You know, some people's fear is to run towards, and some people's fear is to run away, and some people fear shut down, and some people with fear open up. So it's just all different ways. And we tend to not like people who respond to fear in opposite ways as us.
Okay, that's very interesting, Amara. I would like everyone who's listening today to actually acknowledge what Amara is saying. She's saying, I want you to address, if you can tell us a little bit more about fear. We've been talking about triggers and why we get triggered, and you're talking about fear, and you're saying, well, basically everyone's afraid. And this is one of the blockages that we work through fear, because one of the, mainly there are two blockages that we really study when you want to manifest anything in your life, or you want to be anything in your life, would be belief systems or contractive belief systems, like I can't, I'm not enough, you know, all those things, and fears. So if you could share with us a little bit more of what you have seen around fear and how important it is to have knowledge about this, that would be great.
Okay. Yeah, so again, everything has two sides. I think you said, like, yeah, in your fear, contracting fears, you know, or
limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs and fears are most of our blockages to manifest or to be that or to do that, right?
Yeah. Okay, so the fear is producing a limitation of belief, right? And the fear has an assumption. The fear is just an emotion. It's just something that says, oh, I'm going to go beyond, you know, I'm going to go into the unknown. Like, this is not territory that I know. So a lot of it is acclimating yourself to the unknown is a very good thing to do. And proving to yourself, not breaking trust with yourself, proving to yourself that you can handle unknown situations because you have resourcefulness on the inside. This is where you're able to address your fears and not let them consume you. The fear has a belief around it that assumes, very simple, I'm going to lose something I don't want to lose. I'm going to experience something I don't want to experience. And that's pretty much it. This is the push and pull that we experience in life. So that fear creates a limitation. Now, limitation is health. When limitation is healthy, it's healthy. We need some limitation. It's like I say, if you have a river, the bank is holding that river. If you take away the limitation of the bank, you just have a flood. Right? We don't have rivers, we just have floods. So limitations are great in the right place, in the right way. Again, what's right for you? You have to, as it has been said, know thyself. You must understand how you operate. And you must get really curious about yourself and other people. And wow. And then what's the ultimate goal? Is the ultimate goal to find out, maybe it's like, if it's unity, or if it's for all of us to come together, to work together and respect our differences and our similarities in a way that creates decent human experience. That would be like a great goal, right? So is this moving you in any of your, in the way that you think about when you're in fear? You have to remember, yes, you're going to want to protect yourself, and it's important. Protection right now is very important. And there is a goal to do that in a way in which we don't hurt ourselves and other people even more in the process. How gracefully can we protect ourselves and be protected? We haven't figured this out yet. This is our next level of evolution. This is unknown territory. But this is where we must go to survive as a species. It's not going to, every, human mind loves to say, I've got it figured out. I'll just push a button and wipe out all the people who don't think like me, and everything will be great. How many times have humans tried that out? It doesn't work. It doesn't work, It's like you can try to banish everyone from your kingdom. But you notice how they all come back and, and rebel and take you over. So we have to learn how to unpack things together, even though we're afraid, especially now. Who's not afraid right now? It's like a fear just rising up on every single level. So, okay, so when you're afraid, just, you have to know there's some part of me that's afraid of the unknown. I'm afraid of loss. I'm afraid of something coming to me that I don't want. Okay, so depending on what situation you were in, then I could give you some tools for, specific situations. But you will have to get a hold of yourself and say, okay, I need to be resourceful in this moment. So that means I have to be able to hear myself and see, is this saving me or is this sabotaging me? Listen to other people. Is, am I being, what is the way that we can, what's the growth here for both of us? And how can I genuinely open to them or put a boundary to them in a way that is respectful to both sides? There is a way to do that, and we need to have that skill.
One thing I want to say to everyone is that Amara specializes in communication. I've learned a lot about communicating better with my time with Amara, among many other things. And another thing that I wanted to share with everyone is to notice how, I want to take you as an example, Amara, but how you ask yourself questions. beyond if it's right or if it's wrong. So this is an invitation for everyone who's listening. The value of questioning our beliefs, questioning reality, questioning someone that told me something, questioning how I feel about something. So, and I want to link that to triggers, because when we get triggered, we get defensive and we stop questioning. We go into righteousness. We go into, I don't agree with that. I don't like it. I don't like how I feel, so I don't agree. So I want it away from me because I don't like how I feel.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, let's watch ourselves, and let's watch what happened. What happened with that information that came in, and with that. So I don't know what if you want to say something about that.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a great skill to have, right? So one thing I loved it was, you know, when people get really triggered, I get fascinated. Like, wow, tell me more. Really giving people permission to, speak it out. And there's some magic words I can teach you that help you open your mind and let you both you haven't decided yet. It's still unknown what the trigger is going to reveal, but opening yourself to the other person and helping them. A great thing to say is, it seems like, I would like to know how you translate this in Spanish, but it seems like you're really upset right now. It seems like this is really important to you. Because when you do that, you take ownership of your perception. You
Pareciera que, claro.
Yeah, it seems like you are, this really upset you. Now, see, I'm listening. I'm not judging. I'm saying what my reality is. It seems like, now they might say, yeah, it really does upset me. Or they might say, I'm not upset. I saw this upset. Well, what are you experiencing? It's that mindset of help me understand. Help me understand. And then, of course, at some point in somebody's trigger, this is if you're watching somebody triggered, right? At some point, they're going to say, maybe ask you what you think. Or maybe you, at some point, it's really important to get permission. Make sure that the person you're talking to is actually listening. Many times we talk to somebody, they're not listening, right? So would you like to know my experience? Would you like to know what this brings up for me? Great question to ask when you're talking to somebody. If you have something to say that is very triggering, or you think it might trigger people, you want to make sure, I call this permission to land your mission. So would you like to know what I think? Right. Very different than just, well, I think that you, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You want permission. Would you like to know how I'm experiencing this situation with you? And then learning how to talk from your own point of view so the person can actually hear what's happening. Here's what I perceive to be true. This is what I'm intuiting. This is how I would take a super ownership of some bomb if I were going to drop, or something I were going to speak up. Here's how, and I might even tell people, I'm going to say something now that is going to trigger a lot of people. Or I'm going to say something to you that you're not going to like very much. These are all these little tricks that you can do that lessen the, and help people prepare to open their minds. And then you want to lean in with, what does that bring up for you? Let me know what that does for you. This is the kind of communication style that you're going to, I find very, very helpful, and clients find hugely helpful when they are dealing with, flooded brain chemistry and nervous system in fear. You want to have these abilities to have these phrases that help you stay in the situation without going into fight, flight, freeze, fake. And then the last one is face. So these are the 5 F's of fear, I call. You
Brilliant.
can write these down. The 5 F's of fear is, you don't hear about the most prevalent way that humans deal with fear. We have fight, flight, and freeze. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the 4th one is fake. We pretend. And this is the most, well, it helps us a lot and it hurts us the most when we fake our, basically we lie to other people and to ourselves in order to get out of some uncomfortable situation. And the last F is what I call face. Just face it.
Face it.
Just face the fear. Yeah. So fight, flight, freeze, fake, or face. And how do we get to face the fear? Facing it may involve that you need to do one of those things, but facing it means you have the ability to lean in and handle the fear. And yeah, one of the most damaging things we do is we pretend that things are okay in the moment, and we don't have resources to handle those moments. And then we step out of them, and then we blame the other person for what we weren't able to do in our moment of fear.
I'm loving it because you're giving us a process also, right, on communicating better. She's giving us a process, everyone. So please go ahead and, write it down, interiorize this, integrate this that Amara is saying. Again, I've learned a lot about communicating better, and definitely I've seen Amara in different situations, and I'm always like in awe, like, oh my goodness, like, how did she do that? It's like, wow, just knowing you and sharing with you different circumstances or experiences.
Yeah. And we had, we'll share with your friends, we had a moment where we got triggered. So we can talk about how.
Absolutely.
But you were staying with me, and remember when, and so I have a process for super trigger. It's called the inner mirror process. And I teach, it's for conflict resolution and empathy building, very condensed and easy. And like very illuminating very quickly. And so we were living together, and I don't remember what it was, but Javi was like, wait a minute.
Triggered.
I don't know about this. I'm feeling really triggered tomorrow. Inner mirror right now. I said, okay, sit down. And then we learned it's a way to unpack each other's understandings. And every time we both learn something from each other, so you're feeling all like, your body wants to run away and you want to hold your point. And it was just that was the only time I remember, but we were like, okay. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to learn something from Javi. Okay, here we go. And we did the process. And then, it turns into like, oh, you have the aha moments where the thing that, in fact, the beautiful thing about the trigger is is such a gift, because now you are going to illuminate to me where I'm limited in my thinking.
My goodness.
I'm going to do the same for you. Yeah.
And one thing I want to add about that is how uncomfortable it can be to sit down with the other person and be willing to sit down with your own uncomfort, like fire in my case, like, oh, it's so uncomfortable. I want to do something else. I want to run away. I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to share my feelings. I'm going to cry. And probably I did. Yeah, most probably, right? So then you share your experience, like be raw, vulnerable, and then you can resolve things.
Yes.
So and this is fascinating.
There's no way around it. We like to have ideas about how to transform, how to go live beyond belief, how to consciously manifest our lives. These are just concepts. And if you don't take the concept, into testing it into your life, into really doing the hard, uncomfortable work, it's going to remain as this, it's only going to remain an unmanifested dream. And even more dangerous, these concepts that we live by can start to become what I call these ideas in the mind, when we start idolizing them instead of utilizing them. These ideologies literally become the idols that we worship in our mind. It's like false idols, or that just sit in the mind and really rob us of an amazing life experience. You have to take it from the concept into real life. And that's just, you know, it's wonderful and it's brilliant and it's messy and it's all the things, you know, people ultimately say, Amara, how am I going to do that? You know, here's the tips and the techniques, but how you're going to do it is you're just going to have to do it and start to separate. Oh, you know, the realizations. Oh, I call this separating the sugar from the salt. You know, I tell people, put some sugar and some salt together, you know, and then start to separate them. Like literally, if somebody did this and they really meditated on it, it would really change your life. You separate this, oh, this is sugar, this is salt, right? And you start to realize, this is what it's like. You have to be so present in life and so present to the way that you help yourself and hurt yourself, the way other people help themselves and hurt themselves. And you have to be so compassionate in that moment to let that wisdom start to unfold and have the ability to grow. That's where our growth happens, in these moments.
Whoa. Thank you so much, Amara. I do have, because I know the value of having you with us and having the opportunity to have deeper conversations. So I want to ask you two more questions. They're actually kind of big questions on different topics. One is the question, I would love your opinion on this experience, this collective experience that we're all living today, which is this story of a pandemic, right? This story that is affecting us all. And of course, we're not going to go into victimhood, and it's probably, or it is a co-creation, right? But there are a lot of things happening. So how do you see this that is happening worldwide? How do you navigate this experience yourself? And any advice that you can give us from this story that we're all experiencing?
Okay. So how thank you for asking. How I see it is I like to measure things. So if we look at what's happening to the world as an individual, because what is also individual is also collective. What is collective is individual. So if I have seen it's just the nature of our growth is we go through cycles of breakdown to breakthrough. And since you asked collective, I'll say we, you know, when we as a people, when we have not been facing fear, but we've been doing a lot of faking it, you know, around fear, and our fears, and we haven't been courageous enough to move beyond surviving into thriving, right? We know how to thrive. It's not that hard. I mean, the intelligence is there, the know-how is there. I have a friend who works in the UN and deep in the world of managing resources on the planet. And it's a common understanding that we could turn everything around, clean everything up, feed everyone, straighten everything out. We actually have the ability to do it. So what is stopping us?
Great question.
It's what we've been talking about. We like to hedge and leverage, and we have a kind of survivalistic mindset, me versus you mindset, which can only last so long. And then the breakdown happens, and then there's an opportunity for a more unified experience in that breakdown. So I believe that I guess you could say believe, or, I see that we are going through a breakdown, which is an opportunity for a breakthrough. The breakthrough is inevitable. This is the nature of breakdown. It's going to be a breakthrough somewhere. For every person, it's different. A lot of people are transitioning. They're from an embodied physical reality to a the material and the unmaterial world, right? So they're going from the physical to the metaphysical or non-physical reality. We call this death. but this is a transition that is happening. Coming from the immaterial into the material world, we call that birth. So death and birth is always happening, and it's happening a lot right now as the breakdown and the breakthrough happens. So you have your breakthrough, just as all human life. These moments where you're pressured, and then there's this ability to break through and break open to something bigger. So I think we're very ripe right now for a new understanding, and the invitation that's being begged is, can we please move from surviving to thriving, even in difficult times, especially in difficult times. And I believe as a species, we have not, we've dragged, I call it dragging our feet. We've avoided and we've avoided and we've avoided. And yeah. We know things aren't going so well for, other people. We know bad things are happening. We know, but we keep, sort of avoiding. Now that we have the internet and the ability to see into, moments of other people's worlds, it's really hard to avoid. You can't say, oh, in the far yonder world of which I have never gone, through many boats and sea trips over there, they're having a bad experience. It didn't really pertain to your reality, but now we have real-time understanding that we're suffering, and maybe we don't have to. So a lot of it is this breakdown to break through. Are we going to break through to a new understanding and rise above and start to survive in a new way, which I think we would call thriving? Or are we going to sort of fall apart and meet our demise as to how we are right now? And either way, something else will emerge. So that's kind of the big philosophical side, right? And then I think you asked, how do I deal with this as a person? So it's my relationship to trust. I really, in hard times, you have to call upon your faith. You have to call upon your trust, and you will be tested. Your trust will be tested. And what can I trust? I can trust in my resourcefulness. I can trust in my intuition. I can listen to my own inner knowing or inner guidance. And all I can do is follow it and trust that wherever it takes me and wherever it puts me and whatever situation I am is the situation that is perfect for me, because what else is there? And if I don't like the situation, I can make choices. I can trust and I can see, not like this, more like that. And I can start to navigate through my own self-resourcefulness. Okay. And the main thing is not to put that on other people, but to first take ownership of it yourself. Yeah. Does that kind of answer, or should I be more specific?
No, this is really, really good, and thank you so much. Because one of the things we are also experiencing are very polarized opinions, right? What you should do, what you shouldn't do, how irresponsible it is that you don't do this, how responsible it is that you do that. So it's actually we're in a very polarized experience, and we're experiencing also this, called discrimination, when you either do one thing or the other. So I want everyone to acknowledge what Amara just said, which is follow kind of your listening to yourself, because we cannot for certain and for sure say that or that. It's more like what resonates with you the most. And the same way you were saying, is this salt or is this sugar? Am I following this because it's my intuition, or I am following this because it's my fear or my belief system? So how can we talk a little bit more about this?
Yeah. Yes, it's saying that you should be doing this, you should be doing that is a very convenient way of, again, not having to face yourself. Look, so much would, and I would love for someone to challenge me, but it seems to me that so much of this could be shifted if everyone really started with them, just had this ability to, for one, to take ownership of their own experience and stop policing other people's experiences, and literally say, imagine if, everyone was able to say, well, okay, here's what I should do. And also, you cannot have a one-size-fits-all solution for all of humanity. You can't do that. In fact, I was talking to somebody who's really at the cutting edge of, I work with a lot of experts around the world, and I was talking to a man in the US who's head of pediatrics and gives reports to the US government. And he was talking about what they're discovering in medicine. And he says, they're coming to the realization that it's so individualized, and that new medicine is going to be, scanning you and saying, for you, this will work. For somebody else with the exact same thing, for you, this won't work. Brilliant. And so they're discovering this right at the same time that we have this, everyone should do this one thing, even though we don't really know what the results are. But yeah, that's the solution. So, we're kind of using old ways of thinking about things, even though we know there's no, again, that's an ideology. We're worshiping an ideology that says everyone should or everyone shouldn't. Anytime the news or yourself or any human being is presenting you should, they are gripped by an ideology that is not allowing for reality, a new reality to come in, that thriving negotiation of understanding. It's not saying, well, maybe we all should do something, or maybe we all should not do something. But these are very big blanketed statements that are ideologies that are really built on, again, that fear. I call it the, if only I could push a button, and everyone could do what I want them to do, life would be okay. This is, when you're talking to yourself like that, you are in the grips of you're in such fear that all you want to do is put your idea, your concept onto the entire world. I mean, that makes no sense for every human being in a different situations. And you never know what's going to be the result. And then you get into risk and reward, and how risky is it for one person versus another. So we have to get very sophisticated and about our choices. So I would say, imagine if you said, okay, here's what I need to do. So let's take, for instance, very specifically the pandemic, and there's an idea of this, you could get sick. So, okay, if I'm afraid of getting sick, if I protect myself from getting sick, and actually do that to the best of my ability, what does it matter what the other people do? Now, if we determine, if I don't feel, like, how do we take this risk, right? So imagine you say, five people come into the room. 3 people are afraid of getting sick. 6 people come in, and 3 people are not. Okay, so if the 3 people who come in take precautions, they do whatever they need to do because they want to meet with these other 3 people. And so they protect themselves. Now these people are, and so let's say they don't want to take those precautions because, and this is what's so fascinating about what's happening right now, is we need to come together. We're being pulled apart in isolation, and humans need to come together. So we're literally being forced to question, what do we value in life right now? Okay, we're all apart, and we're lonely, we're suicidal, we're going crazy. We need to come together, but I want to come together, in a way in which you're doing exactly what I want you to do. And so it's not going to work. We're going to have to start to take big ownership of how can I protect myself? What do I need to do? Instead of saying, you need to do that in order for me to be okay. That's a great conversation to have, but it's going to take, in order for all of us to do one thing, in order for everyone to be okay, that's a very deep conversation that I think we need to have. But one, the conversation isn't even being allowed to be had, which is kind of fascinating. So at the time when we need to understand, to really open up, do all people need to do something or not do something? We really need to have the best minds and the best experienced people having these conversations openly together. And I think it's like not even allowed to have this conversation. So our fear has gotten so big that we are, just shooting ourselves in the leg, as we say, while we're trying to walk. But if you start with your own protection, do what you need to do to protect yourself, and let the other people do what they feel they need to do to protect themselves. And what if that was enough? Then we would actually find out what's true, because the feedback never lies. So the feedback would show up. It's how you interpret the data can be skewed, of course. But we would start to see, in this situation, this was the best way. And in this kinds of people, that was the best thing to do. Okay, now we understand. Let's iterate. If we thought about it in much more business terms, just more practical terms instead of such emotional story terms, things would go a lot simpler. But I did try to have a conversation with a group of people about taking responsibility. And they said, yes, we all must take responsibility. And I discovered that what they meant is, you need to take responsibility. I said, no, I'm actually talking about our own selves. And they looked at me like I was, what do you mean? No, you actually take responsibility for yourself. Yeah, but they need to take responsibility. I'm like, but I'm talking about self-responsibility. Self-responsibility. And it was the hardest thing to do, to get the mind to go, it just wants to say, you should, because it doesn't want to say, what should I do? Because that's scary. What can I do? What if I don't have the resources I need? That's the fear, right? What if I can't? What if no matter how good I try, the other people don't comply or don't do what they, and then I feel, it just brings up so much fear. But what else can we do? Start with ourselves.
I love Amara. I have one last question for you, and thank you everyone being here. It's amazing that everyone can get. I always say that you should have 10 books and so much knowledge and wisdom. Let's work on that step by step. Okay. But the question I want to ask you is, you have talked about the unknown, and most people in this world, we come here forgetting who we are, and we don't have the certainty that we are eternal and that there is something else beyond death. I always tell my students that whatever you experience is certainty for you, and whatever you tell others is belief for them. So, for example, I can say I have seen eternity because I am certain that I'm eternal because I've seen it. But at the moment they hear it from me, or they read it from a book, or they hear it from someone else, it's a belief. So I would love for you to share with us your experience or your beliefs about what's that unknown, what's beyond that unknown that we call death, that everyone here are going to have to face one day. So it would be very nice to have some kind of, maybe a glimpse of it from one point of view.
So you're talking about eternal meaning. You're associating that with what is beyond death. You mean talk about that?
Sometimes we think that we're going to disappear, or that's going to be the end. And there are other people that would say, no, you're eternal. There are so much more than this experience. So I would love to know what's your point of view on this. To everyone, have their own experience of understanding We're not saying
just
this is the truth. We're just saying this is a point of view.
Okay,
you know,
just a light question from
just to end from just a light question.
Okay, all right. So you said, do I just disappear? Am I eternal? So
what's beyond death?
So what's beyond? Okay, so we're talking about the I. So there's a sense of self.
We're talking about the physical death.
Of I. So as long as there's a perception of self, that self is going to wonder what happens to me, right? So me can be manifested ego, or me can be manifested eternity, having its experience. And eternity, by the way, is it's very small. It's the longest amount of time humans can imagine. Brilliant. Eternal. So it's still a measurement of time. It's not beyond time. Look,
did everyone got that? Okay, we're talking about eternity, but it's just this small, very, very little thing. There is something even beyond, and more and more and more. So that's why I love Amara, right?
Yeah, beyond time, because we're still talking in a time frame. Eternity is just the greatest measurement of time we can imagine. Okay, so I like to answer this question actually, because we could talk, for hours and hours about this. I would talk from a very practical point of view. Mm-hmm. So working with people has taught me about the beyond and the other side of death. So I didn't really have any ideas about what was or wasn't beyond. I did have, so my experience was when I was young, I fell into a swimming pool when I was about 5-6 years old, and I couldn't swim. And when I sunk down to the bottom of the pool, I was thrashing around, and then I started to sink down, and I started to make peace with dying. And I had some very specific things I will never forget that I thought to myself. My first question was, I wonder what this life was about. It was the question that came into my mind. I wonder what this life was about.
Interesting.
And it was a very interesting thought. And then I thought,
one second.
Yeah.
There you go. Got it.
Okay. And then I thought, I'm going to have a talk with them on the other side, because this isn't what we agreed. That was my second thought. What was it? Yeah. I wonder what this was about. I'm going to talk with them on the other side. Yeah, this is not what we agreed. So there I had 3 assumptions that came up from my young mind, that there are lives. This is one of them. There is another side. Mm-hmm. And then there is agreements that are made and not made.
Yay!
And all of this came up.
Brilliant.
So it was actually very peaceful. I was preparing. But I was like, I'm going to give them a really hard time. Like, no, hold on. So I ended up surrendering, and which allowed my body to float up to the pool. I drifted to the side. I felt the edge of the pool as something hard. I was able to grab onto it and pull myself out, spitting and coughing and everything. And then boom, I was back into this world, which felt very heavy and dense. So I had a very taste of the other side, we could say, from a young age. Okay, as I've worked with people, I have seen that, so I work a lot with experiences that people can't explain in this life, but memories, understandings, impressions that they have that seem to come from somewhere else. So whether it's past life, or they just picked it up from, maybe, or the lineage of the family, or they imprinted it from some archetypal understanding. I say it doesn't really matter if past lives are real or not. What matters is that there's an imprint that is greatly affecting people's lives. And when I start to talk to that body of information, say a past life experience, something that's coming up as a known experience that you can't really point to, in your life experience, I have seen that these have, when we talk to them, this healing just is like the linchpin that just opens up a whole new energy and a whole new ability to live life in a completely different way. So I became very fascinated, even to the point of miracle healings. A few of the so-called miracle, just means things happened a lot faster than they would have if you'd seen it step by step. So where people, even a woman in a wheelchair was able to walk. It's a long story, but after the experience, she was able to rehabilitate herself. And there was this imprint of her legs having been injured in another life. And I started talking to her about it. And when she made peace with that, in this life, her legs began to come back, and she was able to work with them. Same with many things that are imprinting. So I got fascinated with what is imprinting on people, right? So there seems to be this something that we've adopted that didn't come from this life. Of course, it plays into many points in this life, but it came before we came in. Anyone who's had a baby knows that your child isn't a total blank slate. Every child has its own personality, as it, like even from inside your tummy, actually. They're all a little different. They come in with something. So what I started to see was that there's something that's affecting us, and we could say from before, and there's a way that we experience beyond. The life review is something that comes up a lot. It's just the way that we learn as humans is we tend to review our lives. And I say have a life review now. Don't wait until it's forced upon you. Have it right now and take time to really review your life. And what would you do if you had to do it all over again? I ask everyone I work with the same question: what do you really want? And then what happens if you go for that want, if you follow that dream? And what happens if you don't? And every single person, no matter what they believe in, no matter what faith they came from, if I ask them what happens if you don't follow that dream, that desire, that wanting, if you don't take ownership of that wanting and find out what it teaches you, what will happen? And they all say the same thing: I will have to come back and do it again. It's so ingrained in us that we are in some sort of cycle that we have to not waste our lives. We have to really meet ourselves and discover what we're made of. So I say, whether that's true or not, just do it now. Yeah. So what do I believe? I believe as long as there is a sense of self, having an experience as a polarized point of consciousness, I call it a body of data. As long as there's a sense of self, it must be addressed in the most, and it has conscious awareness that it must see itself and work with itself to the best of its most humble integrity, and that creates the conditions for just greater and greater liberation and freedom. Make sense? Yeah.
Sense, right?
Yeah, we have to. I mean, you don't have to, but you can come back. Everyone says I'll have to come back and do it again. One woman was she was a scientist in charge of hundreds of millions of dollars of research for the US government. And I asked her, what will happen if you don't heal she had many things that she regretted in her life, if you don't make peace with these regrets. And she said, Amara, I don't know, but I can tell you this: energy doesn't just disappear, and someone will have to carry the burden of that unresolved energy. So call it what you will. It all just means we just need to get present and come to know ourselves and others as richly and deeply as we can. That's what I say.
Would you say that belief systems or the way we see the world affects us after we die as well?
Yes, you can die consciously, you can die unconsciously. Just in life, you can live consciously, you can live unconsciously. Just because you don't have a body anymore uh, there's so many statements on this that are funny. It's a big day. When you lose your body, it's a very big day.
I guess so.
That's a huge transition, you know, and many times people have left their bodies, right, and said, oh my God, I'm still a me. There's still a me, seeing and perceiving. And then I came back down to the body. So there's a me in the body and out of the body. And, you know, science is proving that mind isn't held just in brain, but mind is an energy field that can, you know, move around and have different experiences. So yeah, I also, I mean, on a kind of somber note, I think it's very important for people right now to know how to, of course, live well. I'm a big advocate of birthing well and conscious conception, and also dying well. It's really important to know how to transition in and the upgrades that we're looking for in our lives will feel like a mini death. And then there's the actual time of transitioning out of your body into something that ultimately feels much more real. This is the reports that I get, is on the other side, it actually feels more real, you know, than this world. So everyone should know how to make, you know, peace at the time of, it's very important at the time of transition to let go of, to think anything that feels like a regret or feels like something you wish you would have done differently. Just to make peace with the resources that you had at the time, and to understand that you only knew what you knew. You didn't know what you didn't know. And forgive yourself and love the experience of life as much as you're going to love the experience of death and transitioning, and stay open to the highest and greatest and most graceful new chapter that's coming in that transition. For yourself and for others. Yeah.
I feel that there is so much knowledge on what you're sharing, and so many, I mean, I like that I don't have to talk much, basically, and just allow silence for people to integrate and digest the knowledge that you're presenting us, because I can tell you, everyone who is here or who are gonna watch this recording, Amara is one of the people that I've met that holds the most amazing wisdom, I would say, that I have had the honor and privilege to meet. And I keep, feeling gratitude. You know, you're one of the most amazing people I've ever met. And I feel honored to be your friend. Yay! And to have had hours and hours and hours and hours of unfolding reality and going beyond belief systems, and there's so much more that we could talk today and in other occasions. I know that we have talked for some time, so I think we can wrap it up. And let me check on the chat if we have any questions.
Yeah, it's a question.
It says we have a couple of questions if you want to go through them.
Do you need me to see them on the chat, or
yeah,
can you, or can you ask them to me?
I can ask them to you. So Carol Klee saying, so if the inner talk can help us to free us beyond limitations or open us to learn, is the inner talk a good technique to change beliefs that are not good to us anymore?
Yeah, so great question. We are all talking to ourselves anyway, and until we're not, right? Until your mind is, right, those times when the mind is settled. So we all have an inner conflict. Part of me wants to go to the party and part of me wants to stay home. We are torn as people. Again, this is, you know, by default or by design, it has been, it becomes within us. So I love to heal this inner conflict. Part of me believes it would be good. Part of me believes it would not be good for me. So when you start to take your talking to yourself, when you're driving the car and you're like, you're talking, or you're washing the dishes and you're like talking to yourself about whatever. So I take that capacity, you're usually confirming a story, confirming a belief that feels safe and comfortable to keep reaffirming so that you can be right. That's what we're usually doing. So when you take your ability to talk to yourself and you use it more consciously, more therapeutically, and effectively, then you can talk yourself through greater understanding, which will then change your belief.
Brilliant.
When you understand something, oh, I thought it was like this, but now I see it's more like that. You could also say, I once believed this was the way it was, but now I have enough understanding to say I believe that it's more like this.
Thank you. I have another question here that said, this is from Consuelo, and she says, when you go layer after layer, evolving in beliefs, how do you know when you get to the depth that you need? You just know, or it requires a good knowledge of yourself?
So yeah, when you start going through the layers of beliefs that are serving and not serving you, and then we keep going to deeper and deeper layers of understanding until we finally get to that core limiting belief. It's the same. I haven't found it to be different for anyone. There's different versions of how you tell it to yourself, but it's that I'm not enough belief, right? We really need to get down to this core so that we can find out exactly, is it true or is it not? There are some things in life you are not good enough at. It's just a fact. There are some things in life you are good at, but we are all more than enough to have a discovery experience that feels aligned with us. I'm not good at basketball. I'm not holding some limiting belief that says, oh, Amara, don't tell yourself that. Come on, you're great at basketball. Though I'm actually not good at basketball, I can't. And in this life, am I going to play pro basketball? The likelihood is like 0, right? So I'm not going to delude myself by having some, adopted belief that, I can be a pro basketball star. It's not going to happen. But I could get good at basketball. I could practice. I could get a lot better. And maybe there's some team out there that I could join. So limiting beliefs, things that we're facing, what our limitations are, and finding a way to overcome them is progress. It's what humans love. So we are all enough to discover. We're all enough. To have the discovery of just really excellent humanology, our experience of being human. We're all more than enough. We're valuable enough. Your existence is purely enough. Then from there, once you crack the code on that and you really get that, like what a miracle you are. This is in this what we would call phenomena. It's quite extraordinary. And then from there, look at what you believe. Of course, there's a whole science to beliefs and how we create beliefs and how we continue to confirm beliefs. So how do we break the beliefs? We have to question it. We have to turn our awareness back to ourselves and say, hey, wait a minute. Is that really true? Is it always true? Does it have to be true? What if it is? What if it isn't? And have this ability to stay open, even when we have this confirmed reality that we're believing. Hold your beliefs very lightly, very lightly. Yeah.
Amara, thank you so much. I think you have shared with us tons of content, knowledge, understandings that they're going to help a lot of people. So where can we find you if anyone is seeing this video? And I'm going to put the links in, below and everything. So where can everyone find you?
Okay, so thank you. Yeah, I am in the process now of creating the Inner Guidance Institute. It's I won't say how long, but it's a little bit down the road. Until then, I am working. You can find me on amarasamata.com. And right now we're building a lot of, just a lot of things and getting our first product out to really help people be able to, as I say, connect with themselves and question themselves and dialogue with other people in the lives. So to really start to just get on with this next level of living. So amarasamata.com, I would suggest you sign up for my newsletter. And then right now I am on Telegram, Amara Samata on Telegram, and I am doing a daily drop-in where I just drop in tips and understandings and dialogues and like actually some really cool and very present and deep stuff that I'm interested in, and I'm just giving it away to anyone right now who shows up to my Telegram channel. It's just the easiest way for me to just connect in with people. So those are the best things. And then you can reach out to me, email me. It's on the website. And if you want to have, I have an unpublished link for people who want to have sessions with me, and I'll be happy to send it to anyone who emails me.
Totally recommend you, everyone that want to know more about Amara's work, Amara's wisdom, to follow her on what she just shared, her website, her Telegram. I am there. I was listening to you yesterday and the days before that, and it's like just so nice to hear your voice and like, oh yes, that's so good. Like, oh my goodness, I hadn't seen it that way. So I'm really happy that you're showing up to more people and that more people can know you. And I'm very, very happy that people in the Spanish world that know English can reach for you and hear more from you. So thanks a lot. And thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for being here. It's an honor again to have you here. And I will, send you the links and everything to share this as well.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here, but I hope it helps kind of bring some understanding to how you can take these challenging times and remember the resources that you have within. I'll post in my Telegram, I'll post the self-clarity process that I give to my clients. And it's a way in which you just fill in the blank with the truth for yourself. So it assumes that you've already asked a question, and instead of asking the question to open the mind, it directs you straight toward the answer. So you start to answer things for yourself very quickly, and then suddenly you find yourself in clarity. So I will, inspired by you, Javiera, will post that today.
Thank you. So everyone that wants to follow that goes to Telegram. They can meet Amara there.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Then we'll keep in touch. Let's see. I'm gonna, everyone's saying thank you a lot. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Great time. So everyone is very grateful, and I will share this with everyone else that knew that we were gonna meet. And I promised them that I was gonna add the subtitles so they can access this information for everyone.
That's so great. That's wonderful. Yeah,
So
I appreciate this opportunity, Javi. Thank you so much.
Let's do it again.
Okay. We will do it again. Okay.
We will do it again.